Welcome. Today I'm just going to be doing a kind of I guess we can call it sketching video. For those of you that like the sound of pencil on paper, or maybe you just like the sound of paper, this is the kind of paper that has a little bit of texture. I suppose that makes it sketch paper. This is just a sketch book. Generally, I like these for really anything. I like notebooks that don't have lines or grids. I mean, those are both okay, but if given the choice, I'll usually take the kind that has no lines or grids, just because, I don't know, sometimes I like writing large letters, sometimes I like writing small letters. I don't really have an issue writing in a straight line, so I guess I don't need the guidelines. And I don't know, sometimes I like to write sort of landscape, sometimes portrait, sometimes I like to do a combination of landscape and portrait, sometimes I like to do little illustrations or doodles, things like that. Anyways, so I have a couple of these. And that sound, that sort of scratching sound on the page of the graphite from the pencil is pretty nice. Actually, here's a little bit of story time. I remember in my sort of early ASMR discovery days, when I was learning the types of things I liked to hear. This was a long time ago. This was maybe about 12 years ago, I guess. I remember finding an ASMR artist who had a lot of, they were drawing and painting, or calligraphy brush videos, where sometimes she would write things and other times she would just kind of doodle. And I remember finding them extremely relaxing. I can't remember the name of her channel. It's been a really long time since I've watched her channel, but I'll try and find it and then put it in the description. I think she's pretty well known. It's kind of hard to keep up with who's who and what people are doing, but again, this was 12 years ago and she was popular at the time. So I imagine if she's continued, that she's very popular. It was really relaxing though, because I would come home from, a long day or whatever, and I would just put my headphones on and put on one of her videos. And I always really liked it because she would just be talking about random stuff, or she would tell a story. So either random stuff or tell a story while she was drawing or painting or kind of doodling. And it just felt really nice. Honestly, it felt kind of like we were decompressing together, which was nice. And this was before ASMR videos were so common, and before there were all these personalities. So At the time, I felt like it was a real find. I still feel that way, to be honest, actually. Just talking about it makes me want to go back and watch more of her videos. I think I'm going to do that as soon as I finish recording this video, actually. So I think what the goal is here, at least at first, is to try and cover the page. I'm just going sort of hatching, I guess. These diagonal-ish lines. I'm going to keep going until we've got the page covered. And I might then crosshatch, so go the opposite direction, but I might not. I haven't decided yet. I figure this will be a discovery that you witness. We're in it together here. Funny, at a certain point, the strategy changes, right? Like when we're up here in the corner, it's a relatively small stroke to get across. So you kind of get the whole area at once. Now, however, it's like, do I just do this and then go across? Or do I kind of work my way across? I think for consistency, on the kind of, I don't know, on a certain level, it makes sense to just do it like this. Just work my way completely across. Also, that way there's no backtracking. I think sometimes backtracking just categorically can be kind of annoying sometimes. To me, at least. Like the idea that you've already done a part of something or a version of something, and then you have to go back and do it again. There are some sirens in the background. I hope it's not too loud. If it is, I'm just gonna turn down one of these mics so that hopefully it doesn't disturb you too much. I think probably one of the least relaxing sounds is the sound of a siren. Not least reassuring. I know that there's great psychological benefit when you're in need of help or assistance to hear the siren and know that they're coming to help you. But if you're not in that position and you're just trying to relax after a long day at work or school or dealing with your family or whatever, sometimes it can be a little stressful to hear sirens in the background. So if the audio cuts out on one of these mics, that's why. And I'll try and sort of gracefully fade it out and fade it back in, so as not to disturb your state, whatever it may be in this moment. I have some tea here today. This is pretty good. This is jasmine green tea with chaga. Chaga being a mushroom. This mushroom thing is really popular right now. but I'm here for it. I think that I'm interested. Let's say I'm optimistic and open-minded about the research around mycelium in general, I guess, or fungus in general, fungi. I'm honestly not sure if we've decided collectively what the best way to say that is. In any case, this tea is good. I mentioned it before in one of my other videos. I was drinking it. I've been drinking it recently because I recently got it from somebody who, they were at an event I went to, and they were selling their tea. This person is located in San Francisco. And I think if you just probably Google chaga tea, I'm sure their thing will come up. I forget exactly what the name of the company is. This is not sponsored in any way. I paid full price for my little packet of tea. But it's what I've been enjoying, or one of the teas I've been enjoying recently. I really just love jasmine green tea. I really just love pretty much all tea. I think almost every tea I've tried I've liked. But you can't taste the mushroom in this one, which seems good because the taste is already quite good, and presumably the mushroom is there not for any gastronomical purpose, but for some sort of potential health benefit. Or maybe it does have a flavor, but it's just very, very subtle. Or in the context of the tea, the ratio is such that you can't really taste it. I hope that these strokes aren't too fast. I find sometimes when people do trigger videos that the triggers can be a little quick. I kind of like things to happen at a natural pace, and I know that's a very ambiguous metric, I guess. What does that mean? What's a natural pace? I guess for me that would just be a pace that seems like something you would find if somebody were just kind of randomly doodling or sketching, in the park or in a class or wherever it was while they were on the phone or something like that. As opposed to just trying to squeeze in as many triggers in a moment as possible. No judgment, of course. This is just what I like. You can let me know what you like. I'd love to read what you think. You can let me know in the comments. I will say, though, in general, kind of a category of what I like when it comes to ASMR things is things that are generally kind of natural. Just like something that kind of mimics or just is somebody doing something at their own kind of natural pace, as it were. Or, yeah. I guess what I'm trying to say is, as a child, I remember experiencing ASMR while watching people do things. And actually still, sometimes, it's less common now for me to be able to kind of aimlessly watch somebody do something. I don't really find myself in those positions anymore. I know that's one of the reasons people like the Bob Ross videos, the painting videos, is because you're just kind of sitting watching this person work on something. So I remember as a kid, one of the things that would give me really intense ASMR or really intense tingles was when a teacher was grading my work. So when I was in elementary school, early elementary school, we had this thing where I can't remember if it was just math or for all the subjects, but there would be essentially teachers' assistants who would sit with us and grade some of our work. And it wasn't all of our work. Again, I don't remember what the criteria was for the type of work, but it was among the classwork that we did. And they would kind of sit with us and go over it. This only happened for about a year, I think, maybe even less. But while they did it, it was this kind of interesting combination of personal attention in that you had somebody sitting with you and just you. You would like go over to a different section of the classroom and this person would just sit with you and go over the work, and each student would have their time with the TA. I don't know how long, probably only like 10 or 15 minutes. And they would go through and correct the work, kind of make sure you understood it. This is how I remember it. I could be remembering wrong, but this is the memory I have. And when they would do that, I just remember this really intense tingling sensation. And this was ages ago, of course, so we didn't have, or I don't think we had, ASMR as a documented thing. Certainly not like we have it today. And also, it was different because, we didn't have YouTube or anything like that, so it was much more difficult to kind of share this experience with others. So I remember the combination of like personal attention plus kind of concentration on the part of the TA led to really intense tingles. It was kind of a really nice cocktail, actually, of watching them do something, like watching them focus and just take a second and look at your work and correct it, and then also explain it to you. And then there was the physical component of them writing as well, like the score, like writing whatever your score was, 10 out of 10 or whatever, or circling something or correcting a word or something like that. And that was always very satisfying too. In my memory, these TAs, I only remember one or two, but in my memory at least, they tended to have really good handwriting. So that was always kind of fun to watch a really beautiful letter or number basically appear before my eyes out of this colored pen, green or red or something like that. I think that was my first experience with ASMR. I'm trying to remember what else. That's kind of what comes to mind for me. So, about 12 years ago when I found that ASMR artist's videos where she's drawing and painting, it seemed really familiar and true to my real life experience with ASMR as a child. Okay, I'm reaching the point now where I've kind of got one direction here, and then it ever so slightly changes direction. This isn't intentional. This is just my own limitations, I suppose. Looks like we're about halfway done with this page. I've been kind of going down to up. Let's start up to down, as it were. This is kind of a funny process, too. Like, I'm actually not sure how many times I've actually covered a full page of paper with ink or graphite. I'm sure I must have at some point, but I can't recall a specific instance at the moment. There are some sounds in the background right now I'm wondering if you can hear. This time it's not sirens, it's just somebody talking. I think it's one of my neighbors talking on the phone. Normal occurrence, depending on how close your neighbors are. I find this neighbor kind of annoying, actually, to be honest. I don't know this person. It's just the way they talk on the phone that I find kind of annoying. And if I'm being totally honest, I don't even know why. So it's completely without any sort of reason, or, yeah, that I'm aware of at least, without any sort of reason that I kind of find this person annoying. And they're not even talking particularly loudly. And I don't even mind, honestly. I have neighbors on the other side who can be very loud. It's a family, and the children are currently teenagers. So they're often shouting at each other or just about things. And I don't mind that at all, honestly. In some ways, I think it's kind of nice. I think their enthusiasm for life, I guess, is refreshing and fun. And then I have other neighbors also who I'll just hear on the phone or kind of doing whatever, and that's also okay. I don't mind that. But there's something about this particular neighbor who just, I don't know what it is. Honestly, I haven't thought much about it. This is probably the most I've explicitly considered it ever. But there's just something about it and the way that he talks on the phone that I find really annoying. But this is completely unreasonable on my part. I understand. This person's not doing anything wrong. They're not particularly loud. I have no idea what they're saying. Maybe that's what it is. No, I think it'd be worse if I didn't know what he was saying. Yeah, not sure what it is. Anyways, I can hear this person talking on the phone right now, and I hope that the mic is not picking that up, or if it is, that it's far enough in the background that you just can't really tell. I'm starting to run low on this pencil. I don't have a sharpener handy. Luckily, I have another pencil, which is only slightly sharper. Truth be told, I hadn't even considered that we might run out of sharp pencil in this endeavor here. But I've got some more of these in the drawer right next to me, so I can always just pull those out if need be. At this point, I kind of want to just like take my thumb and smudge across this to homogenize the texture of the graphite on the page. But I'm going to resist, at least until I'm done filling up the page. It's funny too, for the first, I don't know what this is, maybe a quarter or a fifth of the page, I felt like I was on top of it. And now I feel like it's kind of getting away from me a little bit. But I'm not worried. I'm curious also what kind of other videos you either like or would like to see. I guess I should say I take requests. Or actually, let me amend that. I'm going to say I'm open to requests. If there's something you'd like to see, something you find interesting, or a trigger that's particularly potent for you, I'm happy to do that, or at least consider it, if it's within my ability to do so. You know, it's funny too, talking about ASMR and sort of experiences in life out in the wild, as it were, with ASMR. Something that for me has been pretty consistent is I don't really talk to anybody about it. At least not unless I know somebody who wants to talk about it, or who talks about being kind of an enthusiast of ASMR or something like that. It's definitely more normalized than it was before YouTube and all that. But I think all the different categories make it hard for the uninitiated to understand what exactly it is that we all like so much about this. And I think also there's some confusion with regards to the kind of overlap between ASMR and mukbang and things like this. I think that in some cases, there's kind of a fine line between like personal attention versus, I don't know, like girlfriend experience or boyfriend experience or partner experience or what have you. But it's interesting. For me, that just kind of speaks to, in a way, the complexity of ASMR, or the potential for complexity within ASMR as, I guess, as a practice or a tradition. In that, you know, I think for some people, the psychological element, so what I was talking about with my experience as a child, the sort of personal attention thing, or watching somebody do something, watching somebody concentrate, things like this. I think for me, the psychological aspect has definitely been part of it. But I've discovered with the help of YouTube that a lot of it for me really is just about the sounds. There are certain ways that people say things or do things that just generate a sound that I really, really enjoy. I just remembered as I was saying that, I remembered one of the other experiences from childhood that would give me like crazy tingles. Like that I would like think about later. And that would be at the doctor's office, actually, when the doctor would put the stethoscope on me, on my back, and just listen to, whatever it is they do, listen to your lungs or listen to you breathe, breathe in, breathe out. Something about that moment, I remember at a certain point becoming aware of that and just being like, whoa, this is intense. Not in an overwhelming way, just in kind of like, I don't know, almost in the way when somebody tells you a really good joke and they just really get you and you start uncontrollably laughing. I think it's kind of like that, just this sort of uncontrollable tingle feeling that's extremely fleeting. It's gone basically the moment it starts, but leaves with you this really intense memory. An intense sense memory, I guess. So I remember at one point, this was also about 12 years ago, I discovered an ASMR video where the ASMR artist was playing as a doctor. And when they pulled out the stethoscope, I remember being like, oh yes, here we go. And it's only about like 1 second or so in the video where this person puts the stethoscope. They've got the camera set up so it kind of looks like they're putting the stethoscope on you. And I remember just like sort of watching that moment over and over, especially after a long day. Not over and over in a kind of obsessive way necessarily, but if I was really stressed, maybe I'd cue that section up and watch it maybe 3 or 4 times and then just kind of let the video play after that, watch the rest. As I'm saying this, I'm considering also the idea that maybe it's not just personal attention, but also care that plays into the psychological part of ASMR. The idea not just that somebody is giving you personal attention, but personal care. Care for you as a person, or care for your physical being. That would help explain the stethoscope thing for me. It's funny, I don't remember, or I can't think of the stethoscope being a trigger for me anymore as an adult, outside of ASMR specific videos. Of course, in the ASMR video, it kind of transports me back to the child experience, or the childhood experience for me. But that's not something that happens when I go to the doctor as an adult. I think it's different too. It would be different. I mean, nowadays when I go to the doctor, half the time, depending on the doctor I'm seeing, half the time they're about my age anyways. So I don't know. I'm wondering now if the sort of age dynamic, the idea that somebody, when you're a child, you don't know much about the world, and this specialist adult who does these crazy things like prescribes medicine and has answers to these questions about what's ailing you, the idea that this person is taking care of you, I think is kind of soothing. And I think, at least for me, that doesn't really apply anymore as an adult. But through sort of ASMR videos, I'm able to kind of relive that childhood experience. I'll say too, I go through phases where I don't watch ASMR videos. Like at all. I guess that's probably most people with most forms of entertainment, right? You just sort of, you engage with it when you can, or when you think of it, when you have like free time, I guess. There have been points of my life, though, where it's seriously been a source of pretty important therapy. Various points in life dealing with some extreme levels of anxiety. And just being able to zone out in an ASMR video for some time while I kind of am able to let my body rest and relax from the stress. Okay, we're coming up on the end of this page here in terms of covering it more or less with hatching in one direction. Am I right? Is it hatching? Hatching is one direction. I know about cross hatching, right? That's like when you do the two directions, but is just one direction called hatching? Or am I just making that up? Well, how about that? Filled up the whole page. It's fun. Okay. This is kind of beautiful on its own, but I have to say, I'm curious to start going the other direction. Let's just do it and see what happens. At least we'll start. I'll start. We'll see if I like it. Well, it's not bad. It turns into something else. Cross-hatching always reminds me of Gustave Doré, the illustrator. I was first introduced to him as a teenager by one of my really close friends growing up who ended up going to school for illustration, to college or conservatory for illustration. He was really into Doré when we were teenagers. I honestly don't know how I feel about that. I feel like my accuracy maybe isn't good enough to make the cross-hatching effective. I think I'm going to continue though and just see what happens. This is going to end up being kind of a long video. That's okay. I'm going to keep going here. For me, I think the cross-hatching actually, the result of the cross-hatching is that it kills some of the drama. The cross-hatching is, maybe that'll change. Maybe I'll do like half of the thing and then reevaluate. But looking at it right now, maybe it's just not even blending. Maybe what if I do this? Oh, that's kind of nice, actually. Oh, that's fun. Oh, I like that. Okay. That's what I'm going to do. Let's do that. So I'm going to do about maybe a little less than half of it. And then I'm going to blend it like that with my finger. What I was saying about the drama, though, I feel like here, there's a lot of drama in that you can see the pencil strokes, and you can see there are certain places where the graphite is a little bit heavier from where I went over it more, or maybe I just pressed it a little bit harder, or both. Like rain or something, right? There's a sort of drama. I think that's one of the really cool things about rain is there's a certain kind of drama, right? Like you have something coming from the sky smacking into whatever it is it runs into, the pavement or what have you. But usually each individual raindrop is not large enough to do any sort of real damage. So you have this very dramatic, almost violent action occurring without much damage actually being done. Of course, I'm not talking about a flood or any sort of crazy storm or anything like that. Just, just kind of like a normal rain shower. There's that kind of drama, which I think is cool. And that's what I'm getting from this part of the page. And over here, less so. I think that this, at least my cross-hatching, seems to be working against that drama. But, as I said, I think sort of blending it in with the finger gives it a nice kind of texture that I'm pretty into. Okay, let's see what happens here. Well, now the edge isn't right. Okay, hold on. Okay, all right. That's nice. It makes it, well, now we kind of have this, kind of composite, what I would think of as a composite texture. What does that mean? I don't know. It's not even that much rubbing off on my finger, but nonetheless, I'm able to get a nice degree of kind of smear in here, a little blend and smear. I'm not going to lick my finger because that's going to be too much. Well, now it just looks like I'm trying to draw something, like something specific. And I wasn't, but now I'm wondering what I could get away with as far as that goes. I think these circular motions are most effective here in achieving the goal of blending this all together. Sort of light pressure, circular motions. To me, it kind of resembles rain on the side of a hill. It's funny, I've got this piece of paper that's literally just filled with, like, a doodle. Like, I've just covered the page with graphite, and here I am talking about like what it resembles. I guess it resembles a page with graphite, but I do think, I don't know. I am struck by the amount of drama that is kind of in my super random, totally uncalculated strokes here. It's cool. I like it. I think I'm happy with that. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If there's something that you liked in this video in particular, please let me know in the comments. I'm happy to do something again or do something specific if I'm able to. If there's something you didn't like, you can also let me know. And maybe I'll try not to do it again. Hopefully I didn't do anything too egregious one way or the other. There's also the page turning thing. I know I've done page turning. A couple of my other videos. My first video has a lot of page turning sounds, if I recall correctly. If you're into page turning and you haven't seen that yet, you could check that out. These pages are very satisfying, though, because of how they're made. That's fun. You just be careful with page turning, though. You know, it's like the cooler you try and seem when you're doing it, the more at risk you are of getting a paper cut. Maybe that's just me. This book has a kind of, I'm not even sure what to call this texture. It's one of these rough, slightly rough covers with the texture. Makes for a cool sound. Somebody's car alarm is going off outside. Hopefully the mic isn't picking it up too much, but if it is, I'll just mute that mic. That's definitely not the type of sound that we're after at the moment. Okay, now I'm just messing around. Now I'm just really into these sounds. Listening to them played back through the microphone. It's nice. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. If you stuck around with me for this long, thank you very much for joining me. If you didn't, thank you for joining me anyways, even though you wouldn't be hearing this. Again, if there's anything that you would like to see or hear, please let me know in the comments. I don't get a ton of comments, so I respond to all of them, or I try to respond to all of them. I certainly read them all. I guess not all of them need a response. If somebody is just like, great job, I'll just do a thumbs up or a heart, usually both. And if it's something negative, I don't know, I think I still give it a thumbs up because, I don't know, why not? We're all entitled to our opinions, and that's totally cool. So if you like this, let me know. I hope to see you again in the future. Leave me a comment, subscribe, like, check out my other videos, and I'll see you next time.